condition, that their hearts are filled with the fire of love, that they live in perfect kindness and harmony, like one soul in different bodies. If they fail in this condition, the great blessings will be deferred. Never forget this. Look at me. Follow me. Be as I am. Take no thought for yourselves or your lives.
She's coming back.
Whether you eat or whether you sleep, whether you are well or ill, whether you are with friends or foes, whether you receive praise or blame. For all of these things you must fear not at all. Look at me and be as I am. Ye must die to yourselves and to the world. So shall ye be born again and enter the kingdom of heaven. Behold the candle, how it gives its light. It weeps its light away, drop by drop, in order to give forth its flame of light.
Okay.
not just fun, it's a message. What a way to teach. That's great. We've got a couple of announcements we have to make, but if we're trying to get your attention now, rather than wait till the end of the program when you're suffering from sensory overload. First, again, let us remember the station of the ushers and security personnel. They've been put there for a reason, and there are not many options other than obeying. Makes it simple. We don't negotiate. Let's just go along and give them our respect and our understanding. I'd like to say, too, that the ushers and most of the security staff are volunteers. Many of them are youth, and most of them have missed most of the programs so they can serve. Speaking of conference staff, we have selected a crew of staff photographers who've been designated by the National Youth Committee and/or the American Baha'i. These people have the freedom of the hall, and they also use flash photography. But they have asked that you do not use flash photography. It is very distracting to the performers and to those on stage, and it also makes it difficult for the official photographers when the unofficial photographers are jumping up and down and trying to take pictures with flash. So please avoid the use of flash photography in the hall. We also... Who went to the front row today? Anybody need to be gay? Is this the end?
No, that's not the end. This is only halfway.
Oh, it's tally time. You guys want to hear what's happening? For the fun run telethon at 8:30, we are at. The drama of all this is just more than we can handle. Somehow I pictured when we were planning this thing. Remember? I know. Chill out. Chill out. We pictured a few people, running around the track, and all the little kids are going to run through the fun. We didn't expect that when we were only halfway through figuring it out, we would raise $67,000.
Since you guys asked for an encore, you're going to miss all my jokes now because I don't have much time. Listen, on a serious note, we're at capacity in here now, and what that means is that the doors are closing and we can't let anybody in. It's real important that everyone stay in their seats and not walk around out there, and please be as respectful and loving to the volunteers and stuff as we can. It's really important, okay? Thanks. I won't waste any time in introducing our next guests. They're incredible youth. They even ran in the fun run today. Isn't that awesome? Probably best of all, they're from the Northeast. Example of the masters, I would like to introduce Linda and Bobby.
It is so wonderful for us to be
on the life of our beloved master. When me and Bobby got together and we tried to decide how we were going to begin our presentation, we decided to give some of our views on this conference. And we thought that if we had to express what's here in this conference, the word we would pick to use is unity. The unity among ourselves, the unity with our parents and our younger brothers and sisters in the children's conference, and maybe most importantly, our unity with our fellow youth in Iran. Abdul-Baha has told us that in any meeting or in any conference or in any gathering there is unity, he will be present in that meeting. And so I think it's important for us to realize that at this very moment and throughout this entire conference, Abdul-Baha has been here in our presence, guiding us and assisting us and helping us to grow. When in 1912 Abdul-Baha visited America, he blessed our shores forever. For 239 days, he visited the friends and inspired them. As he bade farewell to the tearful crowd at the New York harbor, he addressed them in these beautiful and moving words.
Look at me, follow me, be as I am. Take no thought for yourselves and your lives, whether you eat or whether you sleep, whether you're comfortable, whether you're well or ill, whether you're with friends or foes, whether you receive praise or blame. Look at me and be as I.
Each of us must strive to follow the example of Abdul-Baha in our everyday lives. Being like Abdul-Baha is not always easy. We must consistently and constantly be trying to follow his example. There's a story that once Abdul-Baha was walking on the beach with Lewa Getzinger, who was the herald of the covenant. As he made footprints in the sand, she would place her feet in them. Abdul-Baha turned to her and he asked her what she was doing. And she replied that she was trying to follow in his footsteps. Suddenly, a scorpion bit Lewa. It hurt her very much, but she did not utter a sound. It was so painful that tears began to roll down her cheeks. But she quickly wiped her tears away so that Abdul-Baha would not see her crying. When they had finished their walk, Abdul-Baha turned to Lewa and said that this was what it meant to follow in his footsteps.
We as believers in this dispensation are very fortunate and blessed to have Abdul-Baha as our example. Shoghi Effendi writes that Abdul-Baha fulfills a unique station, not only in the dispensation of Baha'u'llah, but in the entire field of religious history. For us, as Baha'i youth, it is especially important to study the life of Abdul-Baha. The Universal House of Justice, in a letter of 1966, encouraged youth to develop their characters after the pattern of the Master.
The stories of Abdul-Baha's life can truly inspire us and make us arise to do great deeds for our faith. We hope that our few stories will give a glimpse of one who sacrificed every single moment of his life for the cause of Baha'u'llah.
One important point for us to understand is the relationship between Baha'u'llah and Abdul-Baha. Abdul-Baha always showed the utmost respect, humility, reverence, love, and service towards the Blessed Perfection. When the Master would go to visit his father at the mansion of Baha'i, he often rode a mule. As soon as he could see the mansion though, he would dismount and walk the rest of the way. Abdul-Baha's reverence towards Baha'u'llah was an example to his companions, as well as to us in this day.
Abdul-Baha chose to be called a servant of Baha. He said, "My name is Abdul-Baha. qualification is Abdul-Baha. My reality is Abdul-Baha. My praise is Abdul-Baha. Thraldom to the blessed perfection is my glorious and refulgent diadem, and servitude to all the human race, my perpetual religion. No name, no title, no mention, no commendation have I, nor will ever have, except Abdul-Baha. This is my greatest yearning. This is my eternal life. This is my everlasting glory.
One of Abdul-Baha's outstanding qualities was his love for all mankind. His love was showered upon all, regardless of color, creed, or class. He once used a very beautiful example to explain why we should love all humanity as our family. He explained, if you should receive a letter from a loved one which is torn and dirty, you would treasure it nonetheless. It doesn't matter in what condition the letter is in. Because it is from someone you love, it is special to you. Likewise, we must love all mankind, because they are all God's creatures.
While Abdul-Baha was at a Paris hotel, there were many people who would often come to visit him. Among these people was a poor black man. He was not a Baha'i, but he loved the master very much. One day, the management sent this man away, saying he did not meet the standards of the hotel. When Abdul-Baha heard of this incident, he was greatly saddened, and he told the man responsible to go to seek out and to find his friend. He said, I did not come to see expensive hotels or furnishings, but to meet my friends. I did not come to conform to the standards of Paris, but to establish the standard of Baha'i.
Abdul-Baha was detached from everything but God and sought no personal comfort. While in one American city, the friends kept asking if Abdul-Baha liked his hotel room. He turned to one of the believers and said, the friends here are anxious to know my life in my room. They do not know what we had to go through in the past. Imagine the conditions and surroundings of the prison and barracks of Athens. Baha'u'llah occupied one room. His family and several other friends occupied one room. Aside from the severe illness that was raging, and the death of many among us prisoners, adults and children, on account of unsanitary surroundings and starvation, I noticed that my own presence in that crowded room was a torture to all of them. This was due to the fact that parents and children were restraining themselves and being polite and quiet in my presence. So, in order to give me freedom, I accepted more of the barracks, and I lived there for about 2 years. Now the kind friends here wish to know if I like these magnificent rooms.
Abdul-Baha was known by all to be the symbol of unconditional happiness. His happiness was brought about by his service and his sacrifice. He would always ask of his friends, are you happy? Are you happy? Are you happy? He told us to always be happy, because joy gives us strength, while sadness makes us weak. When a reporter told Abdul-Baha that he was very sorry that he had to be in prison for 40 years, the master replied that he had been happy while in prison, because there he was serving mankind. He said that the greatest prison is the prison of self.
Abdul-Baha's detachment from all that belongs in the material world enabled him to be generous and loving of all his possessions. Once, when just a child, Abdul-Baha was looking at the shepherd who cared for the thousands of sheep his father then owned. The shepherds held a feast in Abdul-Baha's honor. When the master was leaving, The leader of the shepherds told him it was customary to leave a gift. Abdu'l-Baha, not having anything with him, gave the shepherds all of his father's sheep. When Baha'u'llah heard this, he laughed and said, "We must be careful about Abdu'l-Baha. Someday, he will give himself away."
Abdu'l-Baha was not only generous with his belongings, but also with his time and with his energy. He showed love and kindness to every person whose path he crossed. He would not wait for the poor and the oppressed to come to him, but instead he would go out to find them. There once was a man who developed tuberculosis. Consequently, he was avoided by his family and by his friends. Abdu'l-Baha heard of this man. He immediately went out to see him and took care of him. And it was Abdu'l-Baha who was with this man during the last hour of his earthly life.
As it was with Abdu'l-Baha's life, every day we should be of service to others. We are assured by Abdu'l-Baha that service is prayer. Abdu'l-Baha once spoke of the importance of sacrifice in these beautiful words. Behold the candle, how it gives its light. It weeps its light away drop by drop, to give forth its flame of light.
Abdu'l-Baha gave all that he had, not just what he no longer needed or wanted. When it comes time for us to give, too often we give things that are extra, that are no longer in fashion. But Abdu'l-Baha gave everything to bring happiness to the hearts of others. Once, when the wife of Abdu'l-Baha was going on a journey, she gave Abdu'l-Baha's daughter, an extra cloak to save for Abdu'l-Baha because she knew that he would soon give his own away. The daughter was not to tell Abdu'l-Baha that she had a cloak, but soon afterwards, Abdu'l-Baha questioned her if she had any extra ones. Since the truth had to be told, she replied that yes, she did have an extra cloak that she had been saving for him. Abdu'l-Baha took his cloak from her and gave it away. He told her that he could not have been happy having two cloaks when someone else had none.
We too must train ourselves to sacrifice in such a manner. Only when we do will we be rewarded. Abdu'l-Baha has written, "Until a being set his foot in the plane of sacrifice, he is bereft of every favor and grace. And this plane of sacrifice is the realm of God to the self, that the radiance of the living God may then shine forth."
We, as the youth of a new generation, must arise to fulfill this challenge. It is truly through our words and through our deeds that we will distinguish ourselves from our peers. We must dedicate our lives to the cause of Baha'i, for which Abdu'l-Baha sacrificed so much. Our response must be renewed service and devotion. As we arise to call to mind the sufferings of the Baha'i in Iran, many of whom sacrificed their own physical existence. Through our lives, through our deeds, we must express the same spirit and faith that our fellow youth brethren in Iran expressed through their suffering and martyrdom. We too must sacrifice, but ours is a living sacrifice.
And as we rise in the name of the Baha'i movement, in the name of the Baha'i martyrs of Iran, in the name of Mullah Hussein, in the name of Tahir, In the name of Qudus and in the name of Mona, let us call to mind the pleas of the beloved guardian, for you to arise and serve the cause of the Baha'u'llah to the utmost of their ability. Let us call to mind the pleas of the Universal House of Justice, calling to you to awaken and move the world. Let us feel the warmth of the loving heart of the Baha'i touching our hearts. And let us look into the expectant eyes of the Master as we hear the words he wrote to the believers in the last hours of his earthly life. Friends, the time is coming when I shall no longer be with you. I have done all that could be done. I have served the cause of the Baha'u'llah to the utmost of my ability. All while I long to see the loved ones taking upon themselves the responsibilities of the cause. Now is the time to proclaim the kingdom of Baha'i. Now is the hour of love and unity. Ameen. I am waiting to hear the joyful tidings of the believers pray in volumes of sincerity and truthfulness. The incarnation of love and amity, the living symbols of unity and calm. Will they not delight in my heart? Will they not satisfy my yearning? Will they not manifest my wish? Will they not fulfill my heart's desire? I am waiting. I am patiently waiting.
Thank you, Linda and Bobby. Very good work. I do have my pen, so that's all that's important. Okay.
What's next? Come on, get on the show.
It sounds like a sea of... You know what? I really don't know what to say right now. But, this is
Thank you very much. I know that this is a very exciting night and we have many special things planned for you, but this is a serious moment. I'm about to share with you the message that has been drafted by this conference to the Universal House of Justice. Dearly loved Supreme Body, the 3,300 youth gathered at the International Conference in Columbus, Ohio, have experienced a renewed spirit of dedication and commitment to the cause of God. Blessed with the presence of Hannah the Cause Kadam, inspired by the urgings of Councilors Arbaugh, Dunbar, and Schechter, and galvanized by the participation of the United States National Spiritual Assembly, the youth, representing some 42 countries of the Baha'i world community, are indeed undergoing a transformation. The power released at this historic gathering, held in observance of International Youth Year, will surely advance the Baha'i youth movement to higher levels of energy and accomplishment. Significant among the events held in Ohio have been the participation of Senator Robert May who urged the youth in both Farsi and English to move the world. The presentation of an award of appreciation to U.S. Congressman James Leach for his continued deeds in defense of our family members in the cradle of the faith and the extensive media coverage, including broadcasts of portions of the conference by Voice of America into Iran. Capping these achievements was a special fundraising event with approximately 500 participants running to raise money for the National Baha'i Fund, resulting in pledges in excess of, and we will fill in the final amount later, a simultaneous conference for parents of Baha'i youth has attracted the participation of more than 1,200 adult Baha'is who have pledged their wholehearted and total support of our efforts in raising our cause to heights never before realized by their generation. More than 500 children have also gathered in Ohio for a special conference session held for these future leaders of the faith. The success of these three gatherings is in no small measure due to the leadership and inspiration emanating from the World Center. The prayers of the Universal House of Justice have been felt by us all, and we commit ourselves to rise to the challenge placed before us by the Supreme Body. You can move the world.
We just went over with the other members of the family and children at the student union, and on their behalf and on your behalf, we could not let the occasion pass to thank those who have caused this conference to be what it is. And so, the rest of your family is gathered here on the stage to represent all the Baha'is in this country and extending our deep appreciation to the task force that put this together and to the youth committee. So if we can get Karen Pritchard and Vicente M.J. Ferguson and Gilbert Smith out here, we'll do it with them present. Come on out, please, Karen and Vicente. She's counting the fun run.
On extra value packages like
Arrangements being made, presentation world leaders, beginning 24 October. Statement being sent, National Spiritual Assemblies shortly. Our hearts filled with gratitude to Allah for unprecedented opportunity, enabling His servants offer His healing message at this critical time fortunes mankind. Now this is our mandate. This is our next stage. We are poised, we are prepared to burst upon the world and really start giving them advice. They have only begun to listen to our voice. But what are the basic principles that we want to communicate? Unity of mankind, unity of races, unity of religions, and universal peace. So we shall begin this fall to tell the world the story of peace.
Okay, we wanted to give out awards for 3 categories for the fund run, which was still another tough award of how much money we raised. For the most pledges, Barshad Majur. Alone, if I'm reading this correctly, he raised $15,739. For the most laps, with 126 laps at an eighth of a mile per lap, Kyle Rafa. For the most sponsors, with 74 sponsors, and I've seen this guy, and I've seen him hustle people. Rodney Davis.
Over in Ohio, in the tallying up the fund sheet, we couldn't find it, but we appreciate the fact that we have managed to put over 74 sponsors. Thank you.
Moving right along, for those of you who are in Kansas City, how many are in Kansas City?
we take your part in law to raise this one. I was the Mark Steiner, and this is my twin sister, Princess Lady. We are the soldiers of the Army of Light, and
moods and awakenings. I hope you're ready to be moved. Please welcome Leslie and Kelly.
Go,
apart. I'm Leslie, and this is Kelly. We're not twins. Little background on us. We're just sisters. We're 2 years apart, and I'm not going to tell you who's older, but she always gets mad.
Leslie and I just got back from a trip to Germany where we're releasing our new single. And we found that the difference or barrier between the people we work with and ourselves was just a barrier of the language. It was very difficult for us to communicate. But no matter where we travel in the world, no matter what language we speak, there's one language that everyone has in common. We all share the language of music because music touches the heart. Music is the universal language.
we have simply packed into capacity. Remember too that the people here are going to hard and is happy, and we need to show patience to the folks here at OSU. They've done a terrific job, they work hard to serve us, but let's not make it any more difficult for them than we have to. Next is the hospital. But this place is a mecca of fast food restaurants, guys. You don't have to walk 5 minutes for a Burger King. So go ahead and eat in all those areas if that's what you need to. I have an important announcement, because this one is urgent. Many of you have signed up to be volunteers at various areas of service, and some of you are not showing up. And if you signed up, you plan on being there. So please, if you've offered to volunteer, take your responsibility very seriously. There is a special need for volunteers in the areas of security, the bookstore, and ushering. If you're interested in serving for just even a couple of hours, please go to the National Community booth outside the lobby. It's important, too, that because the house is full, there are 3,068 seats in this building, and we are filling every seat. As a result, you need to stay in your seat. You don't need to be rushing up to the stage with video cameras and flash photography and cassette recorders. Let's try to keep the place as calm as we can. We need Farhan Firdousi and Shiruz Tejanati, I hope that's right, to go backstage immediately, if you would, that is.
Dr. Wilma Brady.
Middle East, from all over the United States. We've come together across all kinds of racial lines, and cultural lines, and language lines. Those lines mean nothing to us as Baha'is, because we have unity of thought and we have unity of commitment to Baha'u'llah. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. When you just feel the feeling that's radiating in this room, and it's everywhere. I was just talking to Senator May, and he was saying that he walked out on the stage and he was completely unprepared. He was shocked by the feeling that emanated from you to him. I think you might give him a It's so beautiful. You know, I've been coming to youth conferences for a long time. Maybe a little bit longer than I'd like to admit. But I remember in 1968 when we had a youth conference. And I remember we didn't have youth movement designer apparel. At our youth conference. We also didn't have $7 to spend on a t-shirt. In those days, and I kid you not, I remember that I had a VW microbus that I had traded $60 against the rent of a poet I knew. So he got the $60 and got to stay in his apartment, and we got his VW microbus. That was the good news. The bad news was that it didn't have a starter. So when we were beginning the 1968 youth conference, we had to push the bus to start it every time we started. I'm looking around some of the room, and looking around this room, and I remember some of you on that trip. I got pretty tired pretty quick, so I started parking on the hills. And every time we stopped for a burger or something, I just find some place that was on a decline. Put on the handbrake, and then when we finished eating, I could release the brake and kickstart the engine, and that's how we made it to Chicago and back. Those were different days, I'll tell you. In those days, we thought we were in the midst of the youth revolution. You know, those were the 60s and the 70s. And we thought that the revolution was right around the corner. And we thought that we would be in the eye of the storm. We had no idea that what we were doing was paving the way for you. And it was so much better job. You know, as we gather here, as Senator May reminded us, we cannot help but remember the Baha'is in Iran, because it was for their sacrifices that so many of these wonderful things that are happening in the Baha'i faith and happening in each and every one of our lives is happening. It was the spiritual legacy of that sacrifice. And as we think about the sacrifices that they've made, it's important that we view them in the proper perspective. Because when the Iranian Revolution occurred, the mullah said, we are going to stamp out the Baha'i faith in Iran. And they tried. They kidnapped the National Spiritual Assembly. And they felt that the Baha'is would recant. They felt that they would be shocked and scared and terrified. And that they would recant their faith. But they didn't. They were firm. And they did it again. And imprisoned the National Spiritual Assembly, and they did it again. And they kept having to intensify their efforts, because the Baha'is were so steadfast and firm in their commitment to Baha'u'llah. And then we abolished the administrative order, and still, not a whisper from the community, only the steadfast resolve of the commitment to a better way. And as we gather here this evening, basking in the love and the joy of that commitment, we have to remember those who have sacrificed so significantly so that we can enjoy this moment. I was looking at God's Bob, and I happened to notice a passage in that book where Shoghi Effendi helps us to view those seemingly calamitous events with perspective. And he said there's a proper way to look at those kinds of horrible and heart-rending events that happen in the history of the Baha'i faith. And he says that when we view it in a proper perspective, each of them can be confidently pronounced as a blessing in disguise. He said that they afforded a providential means for the release of a fresh outpouring of celestial strength. He said that they were a miraculous escape from some imminent and still more dreadful calamities, an instrument for the fulfillment of age-old prophecies, an agency for the purification and revitalization of the life of the community, an impetus for the enlargement of its limits and the expansion of its influence, and a compelling evidence of the indestructibility of its cohesive strength. And certainly we see all of those active in our current environment. Because as we look around and we notice that the House of Justice has pronounced that the Baha'i faith has emerged from obscurity. Why? On the wings of what sacrifice? If you would ask any one of us, just 4 or 5 years ago, when did the Baha'i faith emerge from obscurity? We would hazard a guess. Maybe 10 years, maybe 15 years, who knew? But here we are, and everyone is aware of the Baha'i faith. Nations and governments, our own government, state senators and governors, everyone at every level is becoming more and more aware of the faith of Baha'u'llah and what it stands for and who its people are. And as the Baha'i faith emerges from obscurity, you and I have a special obligation. We have to assume some new responsibilities. We can't be the same people that we were when we were quietly toiling away in our individual communities. No, there I was in Roswell, Georgia, just minding my own business. I look out the window and the sun would rise and I say, boy, that's nice. Yeah, we'd have some feasts and we'd have some firesides and my kids were happy and my mortgage was paid. I was a happy man. But somehow my life changes in some fundamental ways. I assume some new responsibilities, and I say to myself, I'm just an ordinary person. I wasn't specially prepared for this work. Nobody tapped on my shoulder when I was young and said, hey, listen, you better start reading the Advent of Divine Justice, because later on, you're going to have to secure the spiritual destiny of America. We find ourselves in a heck of a bind. Here we are, Joe and Mary Baha'i, Mr. and Mrs. Ordinary Person. And we find ourselves saddled with this awesome responsibility. And we find that the destiny of America is an incredible destiny. Listen to what the writings have to say about the things that we've got ourselves involved in, and you'll know exactly how much trouble we're in. Abu Baha says that the continent of America is, in the eyes of the one true God, the land wherein the splendors of his life shall be revealed. He doesn't say that he hopes that they're going to be revealed. He doesn't say that they might be revealed. He says that they shall be revealed. He says where the mysteries of his faith shall be unveiled, where the righteous will abide and the free ascend. Who's going to gather the righteous? Who's going to assemble the free? You and I, in partnership with Baha'u'llah. He goes on, he says that it will lead all nations spiritually. He says this American nation is equipped and empowered to accomplish that which will adorn the pages of history, to become the envy of the world. And the last quote that I'll read is really stunning. He says, Abu Baha says, that when the summons to international peace is raised by America, the rest of the world will cry, yes, we accept. Who's going to make that happen? We're going to make that happen. that this spiritual destiny that has been given to us as a sacred responsibility is not because of any inherent superiority by the American Baha'i community. We have been adequately told by the guardians of the opinion about the crass materialism. He calls it excessive, pervasive, devouring, consuming, binding, pernicious. We know all about the sexual vices and the drug abuse. We all know about teen suicide, which has become a national preoccupation. We know about the stain of racism that is still very much a part of the fabric of American life. So we know that there isn't any inherent superiority on our part that gives us a sacred obligation. But Abdu'l-Baha told us, he said, turn your back to the darkness and turn your face to me. Turn your back to the darkness and turn your face to me. Because that's how you and I, as ordinary people who weren't specifically prepared to assume this tremendous responsibility to secure the spiritual destiny of a nation who will in turn lead all nations spiritually. No, we weren't individually prepared, but we've been given the instructions and we've got the help that we need to make that happen. And Abdu'l-Baha tells us, he says, turn your back to the darkness and turn your face to me. And hand in hand, we will walk toward that destiny and we will secure for us, for our babies, for mankind. We have so much guidance available to us. And in thinking about how to share some of that guidance with you, I was inexorably drawn to the letter of the House of Justice, the letter to the youth of the world. And I just wanted to share some of the things that the House of Justice has asked us to do, because this is the voice of God speaking to us. This is how we will find our way through the challenge of securing the spiritual destiny of America. The House of Justice tells us that the present requirements, particularly considering the emergence of the faith from obscurity, of the faith, whose responsibilities rapidly increase in relation to its rise from obscurity, impose an inescapable duty on the youth to ensure that their lives reflect to a marked degree the transforming power of the new revelation that they have embraced. Otherwise, by what example are the claims of the law to be judged? How is his healing message to be acknowledged by a skeptical humanity if it produces no noticeable effect on the young? We have to arise as Shoghi Effendi has directed us to purge ourselves from the stain of that materialism, to establish a rectitude of conduct, to eliminate all of the traces of prejudice from our hearts, and to assume that chastity that Shoghi Effendi talks about so clearly in the Advent of Divine Justice. The House of Justice continues. It says that the words, the deeds, the attitudes, the lack of prejudice, the nobility of character, the high sense of service to others, in a word, those qualities and actions which distinguish a Baha'i must unfailingly characterize their inner life and outer behavior, their interaction with friend and foe. We make no distinction. They continue rejecting the low sights of mediocrity, and they tell us who we must be. Let them scale the ascending heights of excellence in all they aspire to do. May they resolve to elevate the very atmosphere in which they move. Who is the Universal House of Justice talking to? They're not talking to someone who is specifically prepared to do that work. They're talking to you and I. And they're saying that we have that potential within us. That we can elevate the atmosphere in which we move. How? By doing what? By turning our back to the darkness and turning our face to Abdu'l-Baha. By strengthening our spiritual partnership with Baha'u'llah. And finally, they say that indeed, let them welcome with confidence the challenges awaiting you, imbued with his excellence and a corresponding humility, with tenacity and loving servitude. Today's youth must move towards the front ranks of the professions, trades, arts, and crafts, which are necessary to further the progress of humankind. This to ensure that the spirit of the cause will cast its illumination on all these important areas of human endeavor. Friends, if the Baha'is in Iran could give their blood to the cause of Allah, then I can live my life for Allah. If the youth of Iran can sacrifice the opportunity to have a family, to have babies who would raise up and sing the praises of Yahweh Allah, then I can establish a fortress of well-being for myself and for my community. If they can sacrifice the opportunity to have a career, to express themselves in terms of professional excellence, and to bend their energies to the cause. If they can sacrifice that, then I can do everything in my power to educate myself, to train myself, so that I can have skills that contribute to the service of mankind and advance the progress of the cause. If they can allow themselves to be thrown off their jobs, if they can allow themselves to become destitute financially, then I can reorganize my finances to support the progress of the cause. We can do these things. We can do these things because we're told that it will not be by our death, but through living sacrifice. Abu Baha says they, the American Baha'i community, must in turn usher in, not by their death, but through living sacrifice, that promised world order. We can do that. We can do that. Let me close with these words of Abu Baha. He addresses the Baha'is in North America. He addresses them as apostles of Baha'u'llah. Apostles of Baha'u'llah have a special obligation. They are the leaders of the cause. They assume a special responsibility to teach themselves the lessons of the religion of Baha'u'llah and then to spread it amongst their brothers and sisters throughout humanity. And Abu Baha addresses us. He says, O ye apostles of Baha'u'llah, consider how exalted and lofty is the station you are destined to attain. He says your mission is unspeakably glorious. Should success crown your enterprise, America will assuredly evolve into a center from which waves of spiritual power will emanate. And the throne of the kingdom of God will, in the plenitude of its majesty and glory, be firmly established. Friends, it is up to us. And so I leave you with these words of Abu Baha: arise and struggle.
Decided that they would give 5 cents for every lap that was run at this moment. We'll tell the treasurer here that assembly now owes $858. Without any further time, I'm going to wait. I would like now to introduce Councilor Farzan Arbab and the National Youth Committee. Can we have them come, please?
Sing it, son!
O thou incomparable God, O thou Lord of the kingdom, these souls are thy heavenly army. Assist them with the cohorts of the supreme concourse. Make them victorious, so that each one of them may become like unto a regiment, and conquer these countries through the love of God and the illumination of the divine teachings. O God, be thou their supporter and their helper. And in the wilderness, the mountains, the valley, the forests, the prairies, and the seas, be thou their confidant, so that they may cry out through the power of the kingdom and the breath of the Holy Spirit. Verily, thou art the power, the mighty, the omnipotent, and thou art the wise, the helper, the hearing, and the seeing.
We wanted a chance to talk with you before the evening wraps up about some of the very special powers and energies that are released at an event such as this. And we want you all to go home and bring it in your heart so that you will have something to which you can channel the energy that you have found here and that you have shared with one another. We would first like to introduce to you some of the very special Baha'is that have joined us here this weekend. Many of you have been actively involved in telling your peers both here on campus and those who came to the conference about the Baha'i faith and demonstrating your virtues and your qualities as Baha'is to them. And I think that you would all like to welcome those who have become new believers during this conference. Would you please welcome them?
most great dispensation, let us accept the intercession of children in behalf of their parents. This is one of the special, infinite bestowals of this dispensation. Therefore, O thou kind Lord, accept the request of this thy servant at the threshold of thy singleness, and submerge his Father in the ocean of thy eternal grace, because his Son hath arisen to render thee service, and is exerting effort at all times in the pathway of thy love. Verily, thou art the giver, the forgiver, and the kind. Because of the importance of what we're doing, I'd like to call some very special people to receive volunteers. I'd like all the youth pioneers and native believers from Asia, Latin America and the Caribbean, Africa, and the Pacific Islands to please come to the stage now. These people are here at our conference, but they represent thousands of others in their respective countries. I'd like to mention some of the other international youth conferences that will be held around the world this year. There will be an international youth conference in Peru, Hawaii, India, Pakistan, Belgium, and Malaysia, among other places.
O thou kind Lord, thou hast created all humanity from the same stock. Thou hast decreed that all shall belong to the same household. In thy holy presence they are all thy servants, and all mankind are sheltered beneath thy tabernacle. All are gathered at thy table of bounty. All are illumined through the light of thy providence. O God, thou art kind to all. Thou hast provided for all, dost shelter all, conferrest life upon all. Thou hast endowed each and all with talents and faculties, and all are submerged in the ocean of thy mercy. O thou kind Lord, unite all. Let the religions agree, make the nations one, so that they may see each other as one family, and the whole earth as one home. May they all live together in perfect harmony. O God, raise aloft the banner of the oneness of mankind. O God, establish the most great peace. Cement thou, O God, the hearts together. O thou kind Father God, gladden our hearts through the fragrance of thy love. Brighten our eyes through the light of thy guidance. Delight our ears with the melody of thy word, and shelter us all in the stronghold of thy providence. Thou art the mighty and powerful. Thou art the forgiving, and thou art the one who overlooketh the shortcomings of all mankind.
We live in very certain times, and we know that very well. During these past years, so many great changes have occurred in our lives, and they're coming each time faster and faster, and it is really becoming rather difficult to keep pace with the great changes that through the inspiration of God, inspiration of our love, the Universal House of Justice is bringing to the Baha'i world and then through us to the entire world. One of the major, wonderful events was the message that the Baha'i world received in October 1983 about social and economic development. The message told us that the work we have done for decades and decades in the world to set the foundation of an administrative order, to organize the villages, the towns of the world, to elect local assemblies in them, and set the basis of the administrative order, had now reached the point, that work, that we had to add a new dimension to our wonderful work. These local communities, these local assemblies could now and should now begin to think about the social and economic development of their entire community, and their entire villages and their entire towns. This was something that was really heartwarming. It was something that we had all dreamed about for a long time. We knew it was coming. And finally, that most wonderful message told us that the time had come. Now, this social and economic development of the world, according to us, according to the Baha'is, is going to be very different than social and economic development according to many other people. It will not be something that the powerful will do for the powerless. It is not something that the rich will do to the poor. It is not something that the so-called knowledgeable will make blueprints for the ignorant to follow. That is not our version of what social and economic development will mean. The Universal House of Justice has told us very clearly that the essence and the heart of social and economic development in the world is the activities of the local community. And it is from the stirrings at the grassroots of the faith that this mighty development, this beautiful development will begin. And we will truly see how humanity, all of humanity, will participate in its own destiny. And with the help of Baha'u'llah, taking the teachings of Baha'u'llah, will actually develop itself. With that, as a response to those stirrings from the grassroots of the faith and national assemblies, we'll be able to launch important projects as well as the local assemblies. And of course, the Universal House of Justice is constantly considering the development of the world. And today we heard just the announcement of one of their most mightiest steps this year to guide the entire world and to tell the entire world what steps they have to take towards peace. Now, to say that social and economic development of the world will occur from the local communities, from the grassroots, from the villages,